This is another in my series of videos on why Jewish apologetics are so bad. This is Rabbi Tuvia Singer answering what makes Judaism the true religion and all others false.
So with all the religions in the world, what makes Judaism the right religion?
Well, that question is difficult to answer unless you know what the caller means by right. Do they mean the one true religion, or do they mean right for me, a religion that fulfills my needs? I hope Rabbi Singer will make it clear which question he's answering.
As it turns out, it's not just that the Jews have noticed there's something unusual about the Torah. It's the world. The majority of the people who occupy our planet believes that the Torah is a holy book.
Okay, whatever.
Isn't that striking? And I assure you they're not expressing this view because they just love Jews so much. There are many people who have a favorable view of Jewish people, but we have our fair share of enemies. And despite this, no matter how much they ridicule our people, no matter how much they detest our nation, what the case I'm trying to make is these are really hostile witnesses. The Torah is unique in that everybody knows about it. The world knows about it. And
okay, that's nice. Are you going for the Torah is true angle then?
Literally, the majority of people on our planet believe it's a holy book. Moreover, the Torah predicts this. In Deuteronomy chapter 4, the Torah says explicitly that the nations of the world are going to see your Torah and say, what a wise nation this is that has such wise laws.
Has anyone ever actually said that?
Literally in the text. Yet the same chapter tells us that the nations of the world are going to expel you, despise you. You'll be in the land of your enemies, far and near. You'll remain few in number, Deuteronomy 4:27. Really a mind-blowing chapter because this is so unpredictable. Like if I asked you why are the Chinese people, why they've been around so long, so you give logical reasons. They're very large. They have a large piece of land. All the things that will contribute to longevity make sense to make that prediction. But there's Deuteronomy saying no. So the question is, what's unique about the Torah?
Was that the question?
And that is the nature of the revelation. It was a national revelation that God gave to an entire people. It's the kind of claim that can only be made if it was a historical event.
Okay, you're going to have to support that. Why can't that be a myth like the thousands of other religious myths?
So God reveals himself to an entire nation. Look at Jewish holidays, if I may.
Well, I'd prefer to look at the unsupported claim that you just made, but okay, Jewish holidays.
And I'm just going to take my time on this. Look at Jewish holidays. What do they celebrate? They celebrate national events, right? Passover, Exodus, happened to an entire nation.
So the Bible claims...
giving the Torah Mount Sinai, Shavuot, the whole nation was there.
The Bible actually says nothing about Shavuot being connected with giving the Torah.
Sukkot, nation passing the wilderness.
Sort of. Actually, Sukkot and Shavuot are much more authentically agricultural holidays. Sukkot is the harvest holiday, and Shavuot is the first fruits holiday. The historical connections were contrived later.
Now, in case you think, so what?
You read my mind.
Well, look at Christianity. What are its holidays, right?
Why should I care? Is this going to be a holiday pissing contest? What's better, Passover or Easter?
And Christmas. Jesus born to a virgin? That wasn't the national event.
Well, so what?
No one was there. There was no national event. Easter wasn't a national revelation.
Well, so what? The question wasn't, if I love national celebrations, which religion should I pick?
So, as it turns out, the national revelation, the Torah says, challenges you. In Deuteronomy 4, same chapter, verse 32. Shall know. Ask, please, ask yourself. From all time it's gone past. Well, has there any other nation that's had national experiences as you had and lived? Ata hares ladas, you've been shown this so that you know. So this is something the Torah, the writer of Torah is predicting, this would never happen again.
So, why is the Torah right?
You know, the only holidays that are national are predicated on national experiences are secular holidays.
So,
Like in the United States, right? You celebrate July 4th. Why? Because an event that happened to the American people in its most formidable stage of forming the United States.
but the people celebrating aren't generally the descendants of those people. We came from Russia and Poland, but sure, we identify as Americans with those events.
Right? You think about the holidays that are celebrated, May Day, whatever it is, whatever you think of countries and their holidays. So their holidays, you know, Indonesia celebrated its independence. It happened to the Indonesian people following World War II, right? So that's why, because the Torah occurred to an entire nation.
That's the claim.
And in fact, there are miracles that occurred to individuals in Tanakh. There are such miracles. We don't have a holiday about them.
Okay, but of the holidays in Tanakh, really only Passover is connected clearly with a national event. The other ones are agricultural holidays that were later convolutedly connected to historical events.
So there are many encounters that Jacob had with an angel, Genesis 32. I have a holiday based on that. Genesis 18, 3 angels show up at Abraham's tent. There's no holiday. Why? It's not a national revelation.
Okay, again, the questioner wasn't asking just about the right religion for national revelation fetishists.
Got it? This is so sweet. This is so high.
On your own supply?
And why? Hashem loves you. You're his daughter. He wants to be close to you. So he speaks to the entire nation. Once the nation understood that God is speaking, so then Moshe Rabbeinu, a blessed memory, who the nation interact with and regard him in the highest, the nation loved Moshe, Vayimini B'Hashem Moshe Avdo, so deeply.
That is not the sense you get from reading the Bible. I'm sorry. Do you want to give me some verses showing the love? Seems like the Israelites were complaining to him day and night. Why did you take us out of Egypt to die in this desert? He claims the Israelites are about to stone him in Exodus 17:4. Stone him with love, I guess. So high. But are you answering the caller's question?
That it almost became dangerous where they thought, uh-oh, Moses is gone. We need to have somebody else. And it turned to a problem that he was so, his grave is not known. The location of the grave is not known because it was dangerous. People revered him so that they might they might worship him, which could be a problem. So it's the national revelation, and the Torah predicts that something like this would never happen again. So there are many other religions, and their prophets made claims, and you either believe them or don't believe them. You're welcome to.
Well, wouldn't you recommend looking for evidence that the claims are true? Or are we just not concerned with truth here? I think that's something you should stipulate. Wish you would have done it at the start. Truth doesn't matter.
Or not, but it's just you believe them. But the national revelation is something completely unique, unprecedented in history. It is the better claim.
Why?
Clearly the better claim to make.
Better as in truer?
Right? It's more credible.
Why is it more credible?
So why haven't other religions made use of this?
Why should they? They did much better than we did without it.
The answer is they can't. Because you can't. I could tell you that a miracle happened to me today. You might believe me, but I can't convince you that that miracle happened to you as well.
Well, maybe not, but you can definitely convince me that a miracle happened to my distant ancestors, which is how almost all religion works.
Because you're there, and if it didn't happen, you would immediately know it isn't true.
But you're not there, are you? It happened 3,000 years ago. Or it didn't.
So the book is given to a people
That's a claim.
who know precisely about what has occurred to them. And in fact, just to end this off, in Deuteronomy 32, the Torah says, look, if you have questions, you want to know more about what happened, Shal avicha v'yagedcha zikeinecha v'yemruach. Ask your father, he'll know about it.
Well, that's very nice, but Deuteronomy was written sometime during or after the Babylonian exile, so that would already be 1,000 years after the events it describes. There is no one you can ask.
Your elders, they'll tell you the whole story. So the book is saying, just ask your elders. They know about it. Why? Because they were there.
No, they weren't. Actually, even if you imagine that Deuteronomy was dictated by Moses, the Exodus generation had already died off. Check Numbers 32. So there is still no one to ask.
If the Torah was invented and the stories were invented, the book would never send you to grandfather. He doesn't know anything about the scam, right?
There'd be no harm in that if everyone got the story at around the same time. For example, as presented in 2 Kings chapter 22. Nobody in Judah at that time is practicing Judaism. And King Josiah's scribe finds a scroll of the law that no one ever saw before, because allegedly they had forgotten Judaism for generations. That scroll instructs everyone how to begin practicing Judaism. That scroll could say, ask your grandfather, and whoops, if your grandfather still happens to be alive, he would have also been worshiping idols. But actually, the very verse that Rabbi Singer cites is from the so-called Song of Moses in Deuteronomy 32, which really has nothing to do with anything in the surrounding narrative. It's just kind of jammed in there. Here's the verse. It's something about God giving the nations their homes, not anything about national revelation or whatever. What's funny is that in this poem, not only is there no revelation, there's not even an exodus. God simply finds the Israelites in the desert. So sure, go ask your grandfather about the non-existent Exodus and the non-existent Sinai. Should be a very interesting discussion.
And that's why you don't have a similar passage like that in the Christian Bible. That's why the Torah is utterly, completely unique.
Well, the caller didn't ask, if I'm looking for a unique religion, is Judaism right? But it seems that's what you're answering.
One other point it should be said, and that is in Judaism, the gold standard of evidence is the prediction. It's the same thing you find in the sciences, that ultimately, when the Torah makes predictions about history, and those predictions are validated through history, just like Einstein in the early 20th century made predictions about observations in the universe and about gravitational pull, and it took time for people to grab a telescope and go to some odd place to observe an eclipse and to notice that what Einstein had predicted, actually, they were able to observe. So
well, the key thing about predictions is that they be made before the outcome is known. If Einstein had waited until after someone measured time dilation and then published his papers, his predictions would have been explanations rather than predictions. And the predictions in the Bible are of this kind. They were made after the events they predicted occurred. They are explanations of history framed as predictions.
That's the gold standard of Judaism, and that is what happens to the nation, an eternal nation that goes into exile, suffers, but ultimately God preserves. Anyways, thank you so much for your thoughtful question.
Well, I don't know. I guess if I was the caller and I identified myself as looking for a religion with a somewhat unique claim or nice national festivals, This answer might have been helpful, but if the caller was asking, why is Judaism true, this was all just a bunch of distraction. So I'll just go ahead and call it bad apologetic.